All right, we are here on Halo Talks NYC on location with a good friend of mine, Rudy Fabiano of Fabiano Designs, by way of New Jersey.
By way of Italy, actually.
By way of Italy, and now in 900 designs of health and fitness locations globally. Rudy, we finally have some uninterrupted time to chat with each other.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I remember when we both kind of first got into this industry, looking for opportunities, and I guess we both found our own niches, right?
We did. I guess it's where we started, but it's kind of, it's morphed over time.
Yeah, well, I think the industry has morphed over time. I think there's been a slight evolution of maturity and legitimacy where I know for me, when I first started, my other architect friends were like, "Hey, Rudy, what are you designing?" And I was like, designing gyms. And they're like, "Oh, bro, man, we're sorry. You'll get some better work."
Does that mean like if you're in law school, you're like, "Oh, yeah, what do you do?" "No, I'm going to work as a social worker." Well, you obviously weren't the head of your class.
It might have been the same with you when you were trying to make gym deals. They were like, "Man,
people thought I'm crazy." They actually might still think I'm crazy. Hopefully my mother and father finally realized that this is a legitimate industry. Or to make it legit, I had to change the name of it to Health, Active Lifestyle Outdoors instead of the fitness industry or the gym industry.
Is that what that stands for?
Yeah,
that's
so we're creating a Halo
name,
sector.
Excellent logo. I mean, whoever did it, a lot of
Thanks.
Kudos to it.
Thank you.
And I see that everybody's wearing them around their neck out at the
we're trying to
convention
change
center.
them up. We're trying to change people up. So that's like the guerrilla marketing part of me that started a software company right around September 11th. Didn't have any cash.
I remember that.
You got to be guerrilla marketing, man. I got to change some shoelaces.
Hey, you were always a little bit ahead of your time in terms of this industry, in terms of pushing it where people didn't know it needed to go. I remember when you did the websites.
Yeah, I was like the crazy guy, trying to get people to buy a DSL line for $35 a month. And they're like, let's just go back to my house. I have a Dell computer and I got an AOL dial-up. I'm like, bro, I got a 3 meg file of your group exercise class that's going to take 4 hours to upload. And they'll be like, okay, well, why don't we just, we'll talk about EBITDA and teach me about finance while we're waiting for this file to upload.
Yeah, that's funny. It reminds me when I first started, my conference room was my dining room table. And the thing I had to say is, don't pet the dog, he bites. When my clients came in.
Exactly.
So for me, when I made it, it was all represented in having a legitimate conference room.
Exactly. That's when you came to be, right?
That's when I felt like, hey, man, I'm a legit architect.
So I was watching this Netflix documentary, which is kind of how I start off almost every conversation now, right? So, I used to go clubbing and I used to buy bottles. Now I'm like, so I'm watching this Netflix documentary. And it was like, everywhere you look, someone designed what you see. And I was like, wow, that kind of took me back. Even like the sidewalk, even like this lamppost, like someone made a decision that is the design that you are going to experience based on what I want you to experience. So as that is like an intro, the importance of design and architecture and like what that brand represents, people are giving that to you as a responsibility.
Right.
When they say, hey, Rudy, build me this gym. Like it doesn't have the same, it's a totally different conversation now because they know that what that design is really is going to represent their ability to create what they want to create. So maybe start with how you're feeling about that.
That's interesting, that everything you see and feel has been designed. And some of it is great and awesome, makes you feel good. And some of it's pretty crappy. It makes you feel that way. Right now, I believe Harvard has a class that uses design as a problem-solving tool, for other areas beyond just the design world, for social connections, for business opportunities, where going through the process, and I think that's where if you're not a designer, you may not really fully understand that there's actually a very rigorous process to get from the starting point to the ending point.
Sure.
Right? And it's a problem-solving process. Now, what I love about it is that sort of the artistic flair that you get to throw in and the mystery of where it may go. Sometimes I design something and I'm not really sure what it's going to look like. And at the end, when it becomes its own, there's a part of the process when the design is fulfilled enough that it kind of tells you when you're boneheading it. It doesn't fit, right? So you got to do this and you got to do that. You're on the hunt for it. But there's a very legitimate process in getting to the final. And sometimes the ending is a surprise to me as a designer. It's like, oh, that's how my kid is going to turn out, huh?
Gotcha. So how do you balance like fashion versus function?
Right. Well, the balance is everything. I think the biggest, most interesting evolution in this industry is the intelligence of the owner. And you may feel the same way representing them on the financial side.
Sure.
I mean, early on they had no clue and they thought it was just about the equipment or about whatever. So balancing the function and the fashion, that's I don't really know. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm like, sometimes I'm surprised that not enough people have come back to me and said, Rudy, what the heck did you design for us, man? It doesn't work at all. Knock on wood. I always tell my clients, I haven't screwed it up that bad yet. You may be the first one. But
but when you look at, you get inundated with, if you're a club owner, you get inundated at a show like this with, here's all these new products. Here's all these new things you can put in your pro shop. Here's all this new equipment, this and that. And I'm sure as an architect and designer and kind of a visionary for what this location should be, you probably get hit with, here's all these new types of material you can use. Here's like all these new books of what's going on in other sectors. So I guess the question I have for you is, do you have a questionnaire that you've kind of come up with over time? Is it a conversation you need to have with the owner to say, like, tell me exactly like what your vision is, like, how do you want this to feel? Like, I think the feeling is probably the most important word.
Well, it's let me go back to the process. Absolutely. I mean, all the above of what you just mentioned. One is that the owner will come back to and say, well, we saw this stuff, we saw this equipment, we saw this. So that's really trying to fit all the things that they feel they need to deliver to their members in a box, right? And then you have, on the other side of the coin, all these new products, new materials. You got to sort of to build a box. And then you have the economics behind,
sure,
well, how much money do we really have for this box? So there's so many layers in really achieving a good design. And I think the most misunderstood aspect of it is like, well, you know what, just make everything fit and then add colors later. So that's where you get a crappy design that doesn't make you feel good and ultimately may not help the business. Now, I have to say this because I used to say it a lot. I say it a lot less. I've always thought that success of this industry actually hurt its growth because there was no impetus to change or to evolve because, hey, we're making money. So going back to that now, I think that the sophistication of the owners, they understand and they better have a better grasp of what their product needs to be to help me put that box together. Now, is there a form? Yeah, there's definitely a form. How many treadmills, how many
that
people,
part, yeah,
how many showers, what are you trying to accomplish? Who are you? And what's most interesting is that a lot of times my clients aren't really sure what that answer is.
Okay.
When I say, who are you and who you're going to be and who you're going to be that for, who's your market? Mm-hmm. So when you do get into the design, you have to take all those layers and make them work. It's got to be functional. You got to have the right size locker rooms. You got to have the right size cardio deck, right? But at the same time, there's got to be that intangible of why would somebody walk deeper into your club? Why would they be curious? Why would they say, show me more versus, hey, man, it's just like any other gym, right? Mm-hmm. And that, I guess, would be the art aspect of it.
Gotcha. So how often during a given day or a given project do you or your professionals have to sit someone down and say, no, that's not a good idea?
Well, I'll say this. It's sort of exponentially reverse. In the beginning, a lot. And it depends on the clientele. In fairness, I have a client right now I'm working down in the Atlanta market who really has a solid grasp of his product. And my job is just to evolve it to the next level if it can.
Gotcha.
Right? So he's solid. At the same time, when I get the new guys coming in and say, gee, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I want to do it all for like $30 a square foot, there's a lot of no's in the beginning. As the process tightens up, I think we all get on the same page. You get in rhythm, and the project starts to come to life and really literally becomes its own child.
What I've been trying to do lately is instead of saying to someone no, I say, let me tell you a story.
I like that.
And then this is what the decision was, and this is what happened from that decision. and then I'll let you decide if you want me to do that or ask for that or like if that's important to you. So now what I'm doing now, I'm just like a storyteller.
Oh, I love that. Because
So
no one
try
wants
to-
to hear no.
No one wants you to know. Be like, look, I know someone who did that, and let me
Right.
tell you what happened. And then depending on how long I need to tell the story, like the story could go on and on and go on.
Well, I guess the bigger the problem that may occur, the longer the story, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So I've been telling people that my new phrase that pays is experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. So I got a lot of experience that I can tell you. Like I've seen this movie like 4 times, okay, and it ends the same way every 4th time.
Right. Yeah, I think that's interesting. Telling the story as an analogy to what's
Just
going
a
on.
third party, like
just a
here's
third party. Yeah, my other client tried to do that, and they lost all their money in that. And his wife left him. So, but you decide. It's up to you, man. There was a lot more of that a few years back. I think, and you must see this in the consolidation. The pressure now is really to perform.
Sure.
And so there's the margin of error is much less. What we're seeing is a lot more regional chains trying to become national players, right? And as you know, they got money behind them. There's more and more money coming in there, which could be good or bad, right?
Right.
You can fuel a really bad event with a lot of money, or you can really control the growth and be smart about it. And so most of these guys have a real strong sense of where they're trying to get to. The problem I find right now is sort of the opposite. You do one good thing, and it becomes more like, well, let's just reproduce it.
Right, exactly. That was going to be my next question was, you got a prototype, and does that prototype work in other areas? Does it work based on what the square footage is and the vibe of that city or whatever?
The vibe of the city, the location. So I always argue for really analyzing your natural resources. Like, what are you starting out with? Where are you going into? Let's take a look at the space, because there's no reason to, there's a lot of different categories of styles right now. And the biggest one that's in play right now is that sort of lived-in look. You go to the Precor booth. I don't know if you came by.
I'm heading over there right now. Actually.
Yeah, well, it's got that reclaimed lumber, right? And everywhere you go, it's that WeWorks.
I like that.
That WeWorks, relaxed, non-intimidation, sort of ambiance that everybody's creating. It's like, okay, you don't have to wear a suit to be legit in what you do.
What about an Adidas sweatshirt?
An Adidas, well, that's a cool looking one, though,
yeah,
man.
I bought it a week ago. I think they got this out of like the warehouse.
Yeah, it looks
in,
a little
New
Russian,
Jersey.
man. Well,
Russian.
I'm sure. I love Eric, but I can see Eric Cassaberry wearing something like that. I just
He's
had the
become a
pleasure.
friend of mine now. So.
I just had the pleasure of walking with him.
I actually went to an Eagles game with him, and I gave him he said, look, I'll get you tickets on the 50 with me, but you can't wear New York Giants gear. So I had to dress as a Philadelphia Eagle.
I wouldn't do it. I won't go. Screw that, man. Now, I rooted for the Eagles in the Super Bowl because
Yes,
who wants
of
the
course.
Patriots to win?
Yeah, of course. And if you're friends with Brian Mitchell, you better do that.
But I'm a diehard
limb.
Giants fan, and you know what? I'm going to stay with that.
So where were we? So
we were talking about style.
Just style
and find the natural resources.
Right.
I think that's the biggest
Reclaimed
mistake
wood,
people make is they think that you have a prototype or, we have a look so you can just repeat it.
Right.
And in actuality, that sort of ends up stunting your growth and you miss some really good opportunities, whether it's natural light, whether it's taking advantage of ceiling heights, of natural brick, or even, what you find on the floor. I think that more and more the design is going to cater to not less is more, which has been a saying for many years, but that just leave it alone and add a little.
Right. So as an entrepreneur, starting up your own firm out of your dining room table with your dog, calling it Fabiano Designs, growing to the point where you can't be on every conference call. You can't be looking at every document. Just talk to the entrepreneurs that are out there to have them understand that at some point you have to hire the right people. You got to put them in the right place, and you got to be a support system for them and a coach. And we'll kind of close on like what it takes to like build a business in this type of industry.
Right.
That's a professional services firm, which is like mine.
Right. It's interesting because it took me a long time to learn. I think that if I was an attorney, it might have been a little quicker because I wouldn't have had that left brain. Artistic, which, I'll readily admit it comes with a certain amount of ego. And you have to have a certain amount of ego to make some of the design decisions and say, You know what? I mean, the first club I did, I poured the juice bar 45 foot long out of solid concrete.
Nice.
The owner
nice.
wanted to, they looked at me like, what are you, nuts? But, you know, you have to have a little cognones to say, hey,
Yeah.
you know, this is what I believe in and this is what you got to do.
Yeah,
So
you're not building a Home Depot shelf.
you're not building a Home Depot. So there's the ego. And so it took me a long time to learn that really building your staff
Yep.
is probably one of the greatest projects that I've endeavored. And I get a lot of pleasure out of it. And it's selfish, you know, no doubt about it. I mean, I get the pleasure out of coaching because, you know, you're really trying to balance an architect and an interior designer. You're balancing a function and legal with this crazy sort of artistic, I don't even know why I'm doing things. And then you're putting it out there for judgment. Right? For people to say, oh, that sucks, or hey, this is great, right?
Right.
So as an entrepreneur, building the staff, and the selfish part is now that I've been doing that and I'm still continuing to do that, but I really have awesome people that work for me that run the meetings, that run the projects. You know what? I have a lot more time to do what I really love, which is design. And at the end, which is a kicker, I always used to think that, no, if I give it up, my clients are going to be unhappy and my project is going to be worse. Hands down, the projects that we're doing today are so far superior than what we ever produced before, and it's because it's built on a solid team.
Sure.
And even more importantly, my client is part of that team. He's not somebody on the sidelines waiting for us to deliver the Holy Grail. He's in it with my staff, and we're all integrated. But you know, so when we took a hit when the economy went down,
as we all did.
and we went from saying we're going to make it $50,000 at a time to making it $5,000 at a time.
Yep.
And we really learned how to become much more efficient. And so did my staff.
Yep.
And consequently, what I thought was a bad thing that happened was probably the best thing that ever happened to my firm.
And just one plug for entrepreneurial businesses that, you know, might not have the characteristics like mine doesn't, of you know, having a recurring revenue business that's, you know, scalable based on software and technology.
Right.
You know, like actually having humans think and do the work and collaborate and build something amazing. You know, if you or I had to look back 25 years and you say, hey, I'm going to set up a design firm focused on the Halo sector, and I told you, hey, I'm just going to go and be a financial advisor to the fitness industry.
Right.
You know, people would say like, not the best, you know, success story, you know, or recurring revenue business model, but you know, there's a huge need for what we're providing. There's no way to do it, you know, by you know, taking an online class and you know, somebody not holding your hand. So kudos to you for kind of sticking with it, as well as probably kudos for me.
Yeah, I think it's to both of us, you know. And look, at the end of the day, we both know this, Pete, because we've been friends and we've known each other on and off over the years. It's the ability to connect with other humans.
Sure.
And not only to connect on a social level, to really connect, to understand what they're about and what their needs are. Because they may not tell you right away what their goals in selling this business is, right?
Yeah.
Or what their goal in really building this building or creating this business, and they need a space. You know, but if you stick around and you listen and you really connect with people, that'll come through. And you know, I have to say, we're very fortunate to have had some great clients let us do our job and help us. You know, I'll leave it at this. One of my you know, sort of little pleasures. We presented a new prototype to one of my clients down in Florida who's doing a boutique, and he wants to, you know, build a lot of these. And, you know, we've been developing it, and we gave him a nice presentation, and he was cool about it. And then about an hour and a half later, he called me up, and he said, you know, Rudy, I've been thinking about what you did, and it's awesome. I really love it. Thank you. Can you tell your staff that they did a great job?
Nice.
And
what's that worth? You know, like
what is that worth?
It's worth it worth.
What is that worth? Man, at the end of the day, you feel good about what you did, and you go home with your family.
So I was telling somebody earlier today, you know, you're on a planet that happens to be round, moving 66,000 miles an hour around the sun. So when somebody could say, hey, man, thanks, I really think that's awesome what you did for me.
That's right.
And it benefits their life and their members and their employees, and people feel good about what you've designed because that's where they live.
That's
you
right.
know? So,
well,
keep up the great work.
Well, thank you. And at the end of the day, you know, to the industry in general, you know, we talk about clients, we talk about things, but, you know, let's not forget that we're probably one of the healthiest industries, the cleanest industries out there. We don't really produce waste. We make people happier, healthier, live longer.
Yeah.
We really serve a function in society. We should get more tax breaks, Pete.
We should. Well, I've been saying for years now that I see these commercials about, we're going to race for the cure to find a cure. Why don't we just prevent people from getting that disease? Because I know exactly how they get it.
Right.
So stop wasting your money. Just pay for people to work out.
That's right.
We don't have to race for the cure for anything.
Hey, maybe they'll finally hit home for all of us. Huh?
Maybe. All right, man. Great
All right.
talking to you
Hey,
again.
thank you, Pete.
Awesome.
Appreciate you having me here.
You got it.